The film Bohemian Rhapsody 2018 reignited the world's fascination with Queen's electrifying frontman Freddie Mercury. Millions were captivated by his voice, his flamboyant stage presence, and the way he seemed to command both chaos and beauty with a single note. The film celebrated his genius, his defiance, and his legacy as one of rock's greatest icons. But behind the glitter, the fame, and the immortal anthems lay a truth far more tragic than the world ever knew. Freddie Mercury's real life was a symphony of contradictions, a man adored by millions, yet haunted by loneliness. A star who illuminated the world, yet hid in the shadows of his own pain. Few knew the battles he fought in silence, the secret illness he carried, the forbidden loves he protected, and the choices he made when the spotlight faded. This is not just the story of a legend. It's the haunting truth behind the man who refused to be ordinary. This is Freddie Mercury, the secret life behind the legend of Queen. Bohemian Rhapsody 2018 wasn't just a film, it was a resurrection. Directed by Bryan Singer and starring Rami Malek in an Oscar-winning performance, the movie transported audiences back to the golden era of rock, when Queen ruled the stage and Freddie Mercury redefined what it meant to be a performer. The film traced the band's meteoric rise from smoky pubs in London to the thunderous roar of Live Aid 1985, while capturing the fragile brilliance that made Freddie both invincible and vulnerable. Audiences were swept into a world of leather, lights, and liberation. Critics called it a love letter to music, an anthem for individuality, and a reminder of how one man's voice could unify millions. But for all its triumphs, Bohemian Rhapsody only hinted at the deeper shadows of Freddie's life. It showed the star but not the solitude, the fame but not the fear. Behind the cinematic celebration lies the untold truth, the heartbreaks he hid, the love he couldn't fully reveal, and the illness that silently consumed his final years. So, what really happened to the man who sang, "Don't Stop Me Now"? What did the world never get to see? Born Farrokh Bulsara in Zanzibar in 1946, Freddie Mercury would one day become one of the most iconic figures in rock history. When he joined guitarist Brian May, drummer Roger Taylor, and bassist John Deacon to form Queen in 1970, something otherworldly was born. On stage, Freddie wasn't merely a singer, he was a phenomenon. His voice stretched across 4 octaves, and his movements, flamboyant yet commanding, redefined masculinity in music. The white tank top, the half-mic stand, the strut, these became his armor. At just 29, when Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody topped charts worldwide, Freddie became the face of audacity, a man who could turn opera into rock and rock into pure emotion. But behind the image of confidence lay a quiet soul. Those close to him knew he could be painfully shy when the lights went out. "I'm just a musical prostitute, my dear," he once joked. But there was truth hidden in the humor, the confession of a man selling pieces of his soul to the stage. Freddie's career was a masterpiece of contradictions. He pushed musical boundaries, blending rock with opera, theater, and soul. Songs like "Somebody to Love," "Killer Queen," and "We Are the Champions" became global anthems. He was not just a frontman, he was a visionary who composed, designed album covers, and shaped the theatrical identity of Queen. His 1985 Live Aid performance remains one of the greatest in history, a moment where 72,000 people at Wembley and 1 billion viewers worldwide witnessed Freddie at his peak. Every note, every gesture felt larger than life. Yet, while the world screamed his name, Freddie was quietly battling a growing sense of isolation. "Fame," he once said, "brought everything but not the person to share it with. I would mean it was now for up to the back to doing." Despite the excesses of rock stardom, the champagne nights, the lavish parties at Garden Lodge, Freddie longed for something simple: stability, connection, and love. Behind the sequins, he was just Farrokh again, the boy who once sang in a school choir, dreaming of a world that would understand him. Freddie's first great love was Mary Austin, a soft-spoken shop assistant who became the axis of his world. They met before Queen's fame, when he was just another dreamer in London's fashion scene. Their relationship was deep, spiritual, and enduring. Even after Freddie revealed his attraction to men, Mary remained his closest companion. "All my lovers asked me why they couldn't replace Mary," he once said. "It's simply impossible." She became his emotional anchor, the only person he truly trusted. He would later leave her his mansion, Garden Lodge, and most of his fortune. But Freddie also found love in the shadows, relationships rarely spoken of in public due to fear and prejudice. His final partner, Jim Hutton, was with him through the storm of illness and decline. They lived together quietly, away from cameras and curiosity. Jim cared for him, held his hand as his health deteriorated, and stood by him when the world still didn't understand the truth. Freddie's struggle was not just with his sexuality or fame, but with the expectations of a society that both adored and judged him. The tabloids painted him as wild and excessive, but those close to him knew the truth. Beneath the glitter was a gentle man, terrified of being forgotten. In the mid-1980s, Freddie was diagnosed with AIDS, a disease then surrounded by fear, stigma, and silence. He chose secrecy over pity. Even as his body weakened, his spirit remained fierce. He continued recording with Queen, delivering haunting vocals for songs like "The Show Must Go On" and "These Are the Days of Our Lives." In those lyrics, he spoke to the world and perhaps to himself about courage in the face of mortality. By 1991, the illness had taken its toll. His once powerful frame grew frail, his voice softer, but his artistry undiminished. On the 23rd of November 1991, he finally confirmed what the press had long speculated. "I have been diagnosed as HIV positive and have AIDS." The next day, he was gone. He died at home in Garden Lodge, surrounded by those he loved: Jim Hutton, Mary Austin, and a few close friends. The world mourned, and yet there was beauty in his silence. He had controlled the narrative to the very end, revealing his truth on his own terms. At the time of his death, Freddie Mercury's net worth was estimated at around $50 million USD, a modest fortune for a man whose voice reshaped popular music. But his real wealth was not measured in money. It was in the songs, the moments, and the memories he left behind. He bequeathed half of his estate, including his beloved home, to Mary Austin, calling her "the love of my life." The rest went to his family, staff, and Jim Hutton. His generosity, even in death, reflected a heart that had always given more than it took. More than 3 decades later, his influence endures. From the pounding of stadium drums to whispered karaoke nights, Freddie's voice lives on, untamed, unforgotten, eternal. He was, and remains, proof that true legends never really die. On stage, Freddie Mercury was unstoppable, a comet of sound and color that burned brighter than anyone before or after him. To millions, he was the embodiment of freedom, confidence, and joy. Yet beyond the thunder of applause, his real life unfolded in quiet rooms, filled not with music but with whispers, pain, and secrecy. The man who made the world sing was, in truth, waging a silent war against time itself. His life reminds us that fame is not immunity, and brilliance cannot erase loneliness. Behind every anthem he wrote was a longing for love, belonging, and peace, the very things his public glory could never give. Freddie turned his suffering into art, his fear into melody, and his silence into legacy. More than 30 years after his passing, the echoes of his voice still rise above the noise, refusing to fade. He lived fast, loved deeply, and left behind a story that feels both dazzling and devastating. Which part of Freddie's life moves you the most, the legend the world saw, or the man he tried to hide? If this story of brilliance and pain touched your heart, don't let it fade into silence. Like this video, share it, and leave a comment to tell us which part of Freddie's life you never knew before. Behind every legend lies a shadow, and here at Fame and Shadows, we bring those hidden truths into the light. Subscribe now and join us as we uncover more untold stories of fame, tragedy, and the secrets the world tried to forget. Because even when the music stops, the echoes remain.